This is War Room Moments, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and most relevant people on the planet, hear their stories, and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success, and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. War Room Moments is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board. Here's your host, Jason Miller.
Hey, welcome to today's episode of War Room Moment. I'm your podcast host, Jason Miller, and today I have Matt on the show with us today. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, hey, I usually do a really bad job at introducing people. So why don't you just give a little introduction, who you are and what your superpowers are?
Yeah, I would say that, a little bit of backstory. I was a videographer in October 25th, 2019. I decided to stop being a hypocrite, started my own YouTube channel. And I've had a lot of, lessons and insights come up over the past few years of releasing content consistently on the platform. I love it. I think it's one of the best places to create content for. One of the best opportunities, and a lot of people do believe that it's frustrating and overwhelming. And to which I like to say, what's going to take you more work? Creating a whole bunch of content for the feeds that are relentless and burying your content after a day, or creating content for a platform that can bring you opportunity in, longer evergreen formats. So you essentially are able to attract and grow an audience with content that's, over a year old, couple years old. It's the only platform that really gives you that opportunity. And so I always love to encourage people. I look at, when I meet new people, I always see a YouTube channel in them somewhere. So that's what I like to work on with people now, focusing on their strategy and helping them to really develop a core message, tap into a core audience, and to focus on a singular goal with their channel. And so that's a little bit of my story and where things kind of started out.
Nice. Well, it's interesting because you hear content's king, video's king, this is king, that's king, all this stuff is king, right? So it's like an overused phrase, right? But I mean, today, when you really look at today, people don't see, whether they have the time or not, right? It doesn't really matter. People have a really short attention span, right? So it's like, to me, video is what can get the message out in a more effective way. And I'm curious to what you've saw as trends and all these different things with video, because you're clearly the video guy when it comes to YouTube. So what are the trends you're seeing with all these platforms, right? TikTok and all these different things, and combining them into a strategy that works and so on and so forth. So if you could share a little bit of insight, not your secret sauce, but a little bit of your insight there on what you see out there in the market today.
I would say to one thing you mentioned earlier was, the superpower. And for me, that is the ability to break down overcomplication and really simplify things for people. And so the trend I feel right now when it comes to content marketing and video, regardless of what platform, is your ability to simplify a message, connect with an audience. And that's easier said than done. When it comes to attention span, one thing that people aren't really thinking about is that Netflix binge session or going to a theater for 2 hours. It's not necessarily that content can't keep people interested and they are short. We have short, goldfish attention spans. I think it's more about how do we actually connect with people? How do you share a story? How do you structure your content in a way that piques curiosity and keeps people watching and creates that, binge worthy watch session? Because that's really ultimately the goal of every social media platform, is to keep people watching or invested, spending time on their platform. And so the algorithms reward people who are capable of doing that. And we can actually take some, inspiration from places like Netflix and movies and start to create more content that's focused on, number one, what is this person experiencing and what's it like to be in their shoes, and create content specifically for them and share stories from our own, in the trenches, the lessons that we've learned. And I think that that's, absolutely critical to creating a content strategy that's going to work on any social media platform. It comes down to connection and being able to share a story with people that, will actually resonate with them.
Yeah, for sure. I think I don't know who it was. I think it was Gary V. I seen a quote from him, and he was like, it's not that we have a short attention span, it's that you're putting out garbage. Something like that, right? And maybe that's more the answer. I mean, there's so much, people are putting out so much stuff, right? And if it's not valuable, why do you expect people to watch it, right? So
it's a great topic.
And I think we have to provide actual value in the marketplace rather than just some junk that we think is valuable, right?
Yeah.
And
value is definitely a baseline requirement. Do you know what I mean? It's like, if we're not providing value, then that's just an expectation now. We have to do that. And so I want to share a really quick story with you that relates to this topic, because this is a mistake that I made with YouTube for a couple of years. And that was contributing to the noise with Me Too content based on SEO strategy that was the equivalent of shiny object syndrome. In other words, I would get caught up in the opportunity to get in front of search traffic, and then I would create a Me Too video, which essentially just added on to the noise out there. Anyone could replicate that content. And so it was low quality. I think what builds upon that, and the next strategy, like the focus moving forward, is really more about creating content that is high quality in terms of its ability to connect with people. Instead of creating content for me, I want to learn about what can I do to create the best viewer experience for others. And showing up from that place of service and support in the content, I think, is, how you differentiate yourself. Everything's been said and done, right? So what can we do to stand out? We have to put our personality in there, and we have to really be focused on the person on the other end of that piece of content.
Yeah. I always try to impart on young business owners, it's not about you, right? Because at the end of the day, you care about your client doesn't give a shit about you. Not really, right? They just want what you told them you're going to give them, right?
Yeah.
So focus your conversation around them versus me. Well, I do this. Well, I do that. Well, we do this. We do that, right? And you see so much of that number. That's the noise you're talking about. And if we can just change the narrative and make it's the WIFM, what's in it for me, right? From the clients, from the customer standpoint, what's in it for them? And if you keep that target focused around that, I mean, just from my own personal experience, marketing and things, that just gets so much more positive influence, right? Mm-hmm. And especially through video. And, that's a powerful tool to have for sure. So
yeah,
that's another thing I've really noticed.
You can almost see it immediately too in how people, carry themselves. If who they're focused on, it's almost instantaneously recognizable what that they're focused on. They're creating a piece of content because they want to create it, versus I'm showing up for my viewers and making something that's going to really help them.
Yeah. For sure. And the whole point behind this podcast in the first place was helping young business owners, right? And like a lot of the things that you've talked about, you just look at those as commonplace. But now you take somebody that's a young business owner, some of the little things that you touched on, those are like little golden nuggets to them, right? So that's why we have platforms like these where we can we just get a vomit information, right? But then information is only as good as it can be implemented.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's that whole
that is a great point.
There's a whole nother 30-minute segment right there. But it's worth diving into, just maybe not deeply, but people put out all this content but they don't use it correctly. I got a great example of this. So you get featured in Forbes magazine. Woohoo, right? Great. Great. You got featured in Forbes magazine. But what did you do with it after the fact?
Yeah.
Right. And that's the part people forget. It's like, that should just get put into your whole content strategy. Right. And people just think that, oh, Forbes featured me, I'm going to be a millionaire tomorrow. Well, that's not how it works. I can speak of that from firsthand experience. So you have to use the content in the right way. Yeah. And it's really important. And, content strategy, like you were talking before, it's not just singular. It is, you have to use it amongst all platforms, right? But the good thing I think about YouTube is I don't know if I want to use the term oversaturated, but a lot of the other platforms, I don't know another word, but a lot of them have been oversaturated, right? So, and I mean, YouTube's getting there, no doubt, because you get a commercial every 5 seconds now, pretty much. But
unless you have YouTube Premium.
Well, yeah, there you go. But I still think YouTube is a very underutilized channel for sure. Yeah. And a lot of it is the power of knowing how to use it, right? Which is, I guess, your superpower is knowing the how. And if you were to just drop one big golden nugget on, what's a YouTube tip that you could drop to the audience that they could implement today and go, wow, that actually worked.
I would say the biggest one is to be very clear about what the core message of your channel is and communicate it in everything. Put it in your channel art, write it in your about page, put it into the descriptions, and make it as short and concise as possible. Channels that have a core message that stay on track will grow faster. If you're creating content in a bunch of different topics that doesn't have a cohesive theme, you're going to pull your channel in all kinds of directions. It's not magic to get views and subscribers. It's the effort that goes into really understanding what that core audience is and then conveying a core message to them without getting distracted. It's very easy to pull yourself in too many directions. And that's what I meant with shiny object syndrome when it comes to keyword strategy. I was creating tutorials at first about video production, but I also wanted to make a marketing channel. The idea of my channel initially was a DIY video marketing destination, which is a little bit generic. And, I didn't have clarity about who was actually subscribing to the channel. I wanted coaches and consultants to subscribe and ended up building a hobbyist filmmaker segment unintentionally because of an application that I covered that actually ended up taking off. And, I didn't think that through. So being very intentional about the core message of a channel and staying on track with that is how you win the game on YouTube. You play that long term, you make sure you've got a compelling message for your channel and stay focused on it. And don't get too distracted with it. If you look at anyone's channel, I guess like a lot of people use Mr. Beast as an example. His core content strategy is larger than life. It's the concept that you can see throughout all of its content. And that's his compass, his true north. That's the direction he goes with all the content, but it's always moving in the same direction. And he's giving people what they want to see.
Yeah. So here's a question for you that I'd even like to know. And that is, do you monetize all your videos or not?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, you have to kind of earn your way there, right? We have to get the 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 hours of watch time. And a lot of creators do make the mistake of thinking that the YouTube partner program is their primary strategy for income from the platform. And here's the truth about that. If you get to a point where the YouTube partner program is paying you somewhere in the ballpark of $1,000 or more per month, you've already opened up so many other doors of opportunity for yourself that source of income is irrelevant to you. It's just a bonus. And so I always like to encourage people to think of the YouTube partner program as a bonus for doing the work, instead of like, that's how I'm going to make money on YouTube. There are so many other ways that you can produce revenue from a YouTube channel by creating your own opportunities. And so a great channel strategy, it actually has that in mind. For me, affiliate marketing has done very well. It does pay more than the YouTube partner program. To answer your question directly, yeah, why not? I mean, it depends on the content, right? I have it turned on. And all the work that you did previously to get up to that 1,000 subscriber mark, it's kind of cool that you can just go and turn monetization on for all the work that you already did. But full transparency, at the time of this recording, my channel's about 2,400 subscribers, which, some might say is not very much. And who am I to advise, right? But it's really about value alignment here. And sure. The YouTube partner program brings in a ballpark of around $200 a month for that subscriber count. So you're going to have to get to like 10,000, 100,000 subscribers before it's substantial. And like I said, you'll probably have a lot more opportunities, brands that want to sponsor content for you. You can do affiliate marketing stuff if that's in alignment with what your viewers want. You can create products and services and template stores before you even get to 1,000 subscribers. So the sky's the limit. It's just, which one do you focus on first?
Yeah, interesting. That's I've always been interested in that. And that's the first time anybody has ever kind of really explained that to me, at least. So I appreciate that. And I'm sure a lot of people out there would go, wow, that's never thought about it that way. So good stuff. Well, hey, what's a business struggle that you've had over the years? I mean, most of us have been in business for a long time. We got buckets full of them. And what's something, if you could warp back to when you started and go, hey, you're going to have this problem. Here's the solution.
Yeah.
What would that be for you?
Yeah, it's hard to pick the biggest one because the journey is it's all over the place. Right. I would say the biggest struggle, I think, for a lot of entrepreneurs is there's two things, and they're kind of related to each other. Number one, self-discipline is completely overlooked and underrated for most entrepreneurs. Being able to say no and being able to focus are two of the biggest hurdles that you need to overcome in order to be successful in creating something for yourself. If you're trying to build this lifestyle with freedom and fulfillment and, more money than you could possibly imagine, but also having an impact with that, I think those are all great goals. But if you don't master the self-discipline and develop your ability to stay focused, it's going to take you a really long time, a lot longer than you want it to, in order to have some breakthroughs. So that would be what I would tell my former self is maybe be a little less impulsive. in a lot of other areas that seem unrelated. It's like, oh, I don't feel like making dinner tonight. Let's go and get some Wendy's. Bad idea. Right?
That's interesting. That's an interesting connection there. For sure. But true. And that kind of falls in line with the shiny object syndrome too, right? So it's like just focus on where you're trying to go, create a plan and get there for sure.
Yeah.
So, well, hey, kind of closing things up here. If you could pick someone that you could have invited to the show today, dead or alive, friend, mentor, whoever it could be, and you had a burning question for them, what would that question be, and who would have you brought on the show?
It's a perfect segue.
Yeah.
So for me, one of the most impactful books I've ever read multiple times and listened to the audiobook was Atomic Habits by James Clear. I recommend it to everybody because he really has a way of simplifying, what are the cues and triggers and responses when it comes to habits. And, I want to develop my morning routine to a point where, I can just nail it 7 days a week, doesn't matter what's going on. And so the question I would ask James would be, what is it that I can do to create habits? What out of what you've seen after all this research and years of creating blogs, writing your book, creating content, what are some of the key things that you could share with us to help us be, focused and productive with an online business when you're a solopreneur working from home?
Yeah. It's interesting because his book sales are going to skyrocket now, because that's back to back 2 people in a row that have almost the exact same answer. So I'm sure he'll get some extra book sales out of that, but
I hope he does. It's worth it.
Yeah,
I couldn't recommend it more.
We could all use probably buckets full of what you're talking about at times, for sure. Sometimes more than others. I'm in the middle of a book launch right now, and it's like juggle, right? So it's like juggling things, so on and so forth, and how to manage it all, for sure. But, well, hey, thank you for all of that. That was great. How do people get a hold of you? How do people get a hold of you to work with you?
I would say, reach out on LinkedIn. I love that platform. I leverage a 2-prong, approach with my content, create for LinkedIn and create for YouTube, and build the bridge between those 2 platforms. So you can reach out to me. It's Matthew Biggar. You can check out my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Matt Biggar. And that's MATTBIGGAR. Happy to have you connect on LinkedIn or check out some of the content on the YouTube channel.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, Matt, hey, I know we're all busy. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here. And I think you dropped some really good stuff here today for people, either new and or some of us old dogs too. So good information, and thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you for tuning into this episode of War Room Moments. And always remember, dream it, believe it, and achieve it. My name is Jason Miller, your podcast host, signing off.
Thanks for listening to War Room Moments with your host, Jason Miller. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we'll see you on the next episode.